Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In today's video, we are going to solve another psychology's past paper. This is paper 1 from October-November 2022, and the paper's component is 1-2 and it is for 1 hour 30 minutes. Moving on to the first question, it says, in the study by Pepperberg, Alex the parrot could choose from 3 labels when asked what's same about 2 objects. 2 of these labels were color and shape. Name the label that Alex could use to answer the what's the same question in this study other than color and shape. So other than color and shape, from the study we know that the third response was supposed to be regarding matter. The matter of the object that was shown to Alex the parrot. In its part B, the question says, describe the model rival procedure used in this study. So the focus is on the model rival procedure, that what it means by model rival procedure and what the researcher did to present that particular procedure. And it is for 3 marks, so you are going to get 1 mark per correct answer. Per correct point. So you are supposed to give 3 correct points from the whole procedure. So you can write that what happened was that there was a trainer and a model, and apart from this, the trainer presented objects to a second human, which was basically the model, and they asked questions about the object, and the model was rewarded on giving the correct answer. So these 3 can be the main points from the whole model rival procedure. You can write other points as well, such as they showed disapproval for incorrect answers, the second human acts as a model for Alex or any bird, and as a rival for the trainer's attention, rival for Alex. So you can also write about that Alex was the rival for the attention and the role model and rival were reversed each time. You can write any other points as well. And then question number 2 says, from the study by Dement and Kleitman, Sleep and Dreams, outline one aim of the study. It says one aim, but the question is for 2 marks, so you need to explain the full aim of the study. It shouldn't be a partial description. So it was, one of the aim was to investigate if dream recall differs between REM and NREM stages of sleep. So if you are writing that one of the aim was to investigate the dream recall or the recall differences, or if you're writing that it was to investigate if dream recall differs between different sleep stages, you're going to get 1 mark for it because you're not mentioning which sleep stages. So the sleep stages were REM and NREM, so you need to mention that to gain full marks. You can write any other of the aims as well. There were 3 aims. You can write the other 2 as well. For example, to investigate if there was a positive correlation between estimates of dream duration and the length of REM sleep. You can also write to investigate if eye movement patterns were related to dream content. If you're writing that to investigate dream recall and stages of sleep, or to investigate estimates of dream duration, or to investigate eye movements in dreams, you're going to get partial marks because you're not giving details of the aims. And then its part B says, outline one of the dreams reported where a participant was driving a car. So you need to report the dream recall where the participant was driving a car, what was actually happening in that dream. So you need to write 2 proper points to gain full marks, because you're going to get 1 mark for each point. So for example, you can write he was driving a car and staring at the road at an intersection. A car appeared speeding at them. So these are the 2 points you can write, or you can also write that driving a car and staring at the road ahead, they saw a man on the road asking for a lift. So these are the 2 full points you need to write. And then question number 3, it says, from the study by Baron-Cohen et al., eye test, describe the sample for group 2 in this study. the sample of group 2. So any 3 features of group 2 will help you gain full marks. You can write that they were all from the adult community classes at Exeter. They were from a public library, or they were public library users, anything would do it, and they were recruited through opportunity sampling. You can write any other 3 as well, that there were total 122 participants there. So they were having similar socioeconomic class to group 1, or they were having similar educational background to group 1, or data on age was only available from 88 participants out of 122, and they were not diagnosed with AS or HFA. You can write these points as well, but they are just supposed to be 3 characteristics from group number 2. And then its part B says the original reading the minds and the eyes test had several problems. 2 of these problems were the test only had 2 response options for each pair of eyes, and some words in the test were difficult to understand. State how this study solved each of these problems with the reversed eyes and the reading the mind in the eyes test. Problem 1 was the test only had 2 response options for each eyes of pairs. So in the second, the revised version, they had 4 options for each pair of eyes. So you can write that they increased it to 4 responses or response options. Or you can also write they added 2 more, so that's the same thing. You are going to get 1 mark for each solution. And problem 2 says some words in the test were difficult to understand. So what was the solution to that? It was that they were given a glossary of definitions so that they can understand the meanings of each word. And then question number 4 says, from the study by Laney et al., describe the food cost questionnaire used in this study. So you need to tell 4 features of food cost questionnaires from this study, because you're going to get 1 mark per correct point made. These can be that participants had to indicate how much they were willing to pay for each food item mentioned in the questionnaire. And then for 21 food items, or you can write that, you can make it as a 1 point, that they were willing to pay for each food item mentioned in the 21 food item list. And then several of these foods had featured on earlier questionnaires as well. They were familiar of these items because they were mentioned in other previous questionnaires as well. They did what they told how much they were willing to pay by circling the prices, the option of prices mentioned, and from 7 priced given options, they were supposed to circle any one. There was a never buy it option as well. So they could say that they wouldn't buy this food item or any particular food item for any given price. They were allowed to do that. And then its part B says, outline 1 weakness of the food cost questionnaire used in this study. So this questionnaire had some weaknesses and you have to state or outline any one, and you are going to get 1 mark for stating the weakness of the food cost questionnaire and 1 mark for linking it to the study. So let's say I write what people say they will do on a questionnaire may not reflect their actual behavior. Hence, just because they would spend a certain amount of money does not mean that they actually will. Because like just because they are saying that they are willing to pay a certain amount of money on a particular food item, it does not mean that they're actually going to pay that. So basically, social desirability factor can occur, that it's not important, it's not necessary that what the participants are saying they would do in a questionnaire, it is not necessary that they would do it in real life. So there is a chance that the results might not be valid and they might not do such things in actual life. And then question number 5 says the study by Schachter and Singer investigated 2 factors in emotion. An activity index was used to collect results in the euphoria condition. Describe the results from the activity index for the epinephrine informed group compared to the placebo group. So compared to the placebo group, you must use data in your answer. So you can write that the score on the activity index was higher for the placebo group compared to the epinephrine group, which meant placebo helped join in more with this stooge. Meanwhile, epinephrine did not. And for this, you can write the data that the average score for placebo condition was 16. Whereas for epinephrine group, it was 12.72. Okay, and then part B says outline 1 methodological strength of this study. Methodological strength means you need to focus on the research methods, which kind of research method was used, and how was the experimental design and all of that, and what were the methods used. So let's say I can write that there was a high. You need to focus on the procedure part of the study. So there was a high level of standardization so replicating the study is easier, which also allows for retest reliability. You can also mention the example that the stooges were given instructions on how to act, so the study can be tested for reliability. So basically you can mention how the procedure was standardized. That will also help you gain marks. And then question number 6 says the debate about individual and situational explanations relate to the study by Milgram. Outline what is meant by this debate. by the individual versus situational debate, and include one example from the individual explanation and one example from the situational explanation from the study by Milgram. So you also need to mention the examples. And the question is for 4 marks, so you're going to get 2 marks per debate, like 1 mark for explaining what individual side of the argument means, and 1 mark for giving an example for the individual side, and then 1 mark for the third mark will be for describing what it means by the situational side of the argument, and the fourth mark is going to be for giving an example for the situational side of the argument from the study. So let's say I write the individual side refers to behaviors from factors within the person or within an individual's personality, and example can be, for example, some participants may have been more obedient because of their personality type, such as being more submissive. And then moving on to the situational side, you can write that the situational side of the debate refers to behaviors from factors in the external environment. For example, some participants may have been more obedient because of the experimenter or the prods given to make them continue giving the shocks. So this is how you are going to write the answer for this question. And then question number 7 says, Umar organizes a football team for children, but they are sometimes too aggressive during games. He wants to reduce this aggressive behavior and asks you for advice. Outline the advice you would give to Umar using your knowledge of the study by Bandura et al. Aggression. So make sure that you guys are clear about the idea that Bandura was about aggression inducing. And over here, what Umar wants to do is he wants to reduce the aggressive behavior of the students. But for that as well, he is asking for help, and he is asking for us to give him advice and suggest him how to conduct this whole thing by using Bandura as a study. So this is like an oppositional thing, but you have to use Bandura as a study the other way around over here. And you can write that what Umar could do is Umar, like, just give any general suggestion you can and then link it with Bandura as a study. So Umar could bring in a trainer or a model that is non-aggressive. The children could be asked to watch the model as they play football non-aggressively, like the models are playing football non-aggressively. And then Umar could monitor physical aggression in boys as they are more likely to display it. Umar could then reward the model for their non-aggressive behavior, which is going to encourage the children to act in non-aggressive behavior in order to get the reward as an incentive of behaving nicely. So this is how they can be encouraged, because they're going to see that the model is also getting the reward, and children tend to be attracted towards the reward. So they're going to be like, okay, I need the reward, so I will also act in the way the model did, in a non-aggressive way. And then from the study by Piliavin, name 2 features of the sample in this study. So just simply name any 2 features of the sample from this study. You can write any 2, such as there were about 4,450 participants. And the next one can be they were all from the New York City. You can also write any other 2. For example, they were all subway passengers. There were 45% a person black and 55% white participants. They were recruited through opportunity sampling, and the mean number of people per car was, or per subway was, 43. The next question says, 2 friends, Saad and Amina, are discussing the study in terms of generalizability. Saad believes the study does have generalizability, but Amina believes the study does not have generalizability. Outline why you think either Saad or Amina is correct using evidence from the study. So using evidence from the study by Piliavin. So you need to write 2 points for each, Saad and Amina. So for example, if I'm saying that Saad is correct, so Saad is correct because there was a large amount of people. We have discussed about how there were about 4,450 participants, so that is a large number of people who were the participants and represented a potential wide range of occupations and backgrounds, so they could easily represent the helping behavior of many different people. So hence the study can be generalizable. But on the other hand, when we are saying that Amina is correct, so Amina is correct because they were all from one location on a subway, which itself is restricted in terms of the type of people who use the subway, because mostly the lower class of New York uses that particular subway. So it might be that the results only apply to subway passengers and not the people living in urban areas. So that is why the study is not generalizable. Question number 9 says, describe the psychology being investigated in the study by Andrade. So if this question says describe and it is for 4 marks, so you need to write 4 points, because you're going to get 1 mark per correct answer. And in this you can write any 4 points from the study, from the background of the study, which can be that it was related to, the background of the study was looking at whether doodling aids our concentration and cognitions or not. It was related to how arousal levels need to be maintained to be able to concentrate, and cognitive processing of dual tasks was also measured, and it was also told in the background that boredom plays a role in paying attention to information. And then part B says, explain one similarity and one difference between the study by Andrade and one other study from the cognitive approach. So let's say we can use any study from the cognitive approach. So for example, we can use the study by Laney or the Baron-Cohen study. So over here we have to mention one similarity and one difference. So like 4 marks for explaining one thing, like 4 marks for similarity and 4 marks for differences. So let's say if I'm talking about similarity, so we can write that both Andrade and Laney studies were experimental, or we can write about Baron-Cohen because that is the latest in the syllabus. So both Andrade and Baron-Cohen were laboratory experiments. For example, both the studies manipulated independent variables. You need to give the example as well, that in Andrade's study, there were 2 conditions of doodling and non-doodling, and in Baron-Cohen's study, there were 4 groups, but the conditions were 2. There were again 2 conditions: HFA as diagnosed and non-HFA as diagnosed. And then you can use one difference from sampling, maybe that in Andrade's study, small number of people were recruited and they were already done, and they had already completed a study right before joining the doodling study. However, in Baron-Cohen's study, there were more participants who were divided into 4 groups and they had not completed any other study before joining in the eyes test study. So that can be the difference. Now question number 10 says, in the study, evaluate the study by Canli. Evaluate the study by Canli, brain scans and emotions in terms of 2 strengths and 2 weaknesses, and at least one of your evaluation point must be about validity. So you can talk about validity in either of the cases. You can use it as a strength or as a weakness. You need to refer to the study by Canli. So let's say I'm using it as a strength. So I can write that fMRI scans were used, so the participants could not distort or change the results because the brain functioning was evident and clear in the scans. Hence, the results were authentic, and this increases the validity of the study. Okay, the internal validity of the results or of the study. Second, you can write that a standardized procedure was used, and you also need to give examples like how was this procedure standardized. So standardized procedure was used, such as all the participants were shown the same images. They were randomized, they were shown in the randomized order, but they were the same images, and all of them were given the same 4 buttons to rate the images. Okay, to rate the images. Hence, it is easier to replicate the study for testing its results. So it's easier to replicate the study, which increases the retest reliability of it. Then for the weaknesses, you can write that the generalizability was very low. Why was it low? Because only females were used in this study. Only 10 females were used. So only 10 females were used in this study or were part of this study. The number itself is very small, plus the study is gynocentric because only females are used, which further reduces its generalizability as the results cannot be applied to the male population. Apart from it, another weakness was that this was a lab experiment where artificial environment was used. The situation was very different from a real life scenario where the participants underwent fMRI machines. This might have caused participants some anxiety which might result in them rating some images highly intense due to the artificial environment made for them. This decreases the ecological validity of the study. So this is it for this paper. I hope everything was clear to you guys.